So much to talk about tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So much to talk about. The NBA is rolling along. Basketball is back. And boy, oh boy, this week has been crazy. But thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This is, I'm about to say something else. This is Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio Network. I'm one half of the co-host of Fast Break, Davidson Crooks. Dentarius, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Like you said, a lot of stuff has been going on. It's going to be very interesting how things move forward. I think we've had a lot of surprises so far in this bubble. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see any more, man. How's everything going for you?
Everything's going well. Especially this weekend, it's a lot of, soundbite, injury news, games, we got to discuss. So a lot of stuff we got to dive into on that. But, before we got on air, we were talking about, today's games and, your Orlando Magic losing overtime to the Boston Celtics. Well, I know you're a big Magic fan. What issues, what do you see watching that game, and do you see any improvement with that team, or can they make any improvements, when they make the play, when playoff time comes around?
I think they can. You are missing a couple pieces with Eric Gordon and Jonathan Isaac. But I think it's one thing that big fans need to recognize that I think it's hurting. I always look at what the front office is doing in any sport. I've said that all my YouTube channels you guys can check out. I talk about the Bucks and other teams. But look at this name right here people haven't heard much because he hasn't done anything. I believe he was dealing with the corona throughout this bubble. But before this virus, he really wasn't making a huge impact on the team. It's Mo Bamba. Remember, we drafted him, top 15, top 10, number one first round pick. And he hasn't really, been on the court that much recently. Now, because of the bubble, he's been dealing with conditioning with the coronavirus. But before this is a piece that should have played a huge part moving forward with his team. And he hasn't really been making a huge impact because of the pieces that we already have. So I'm not saying that he's been a bust or anything, but Vooch has been playing pretty good as we can see. They just extended him this past year, and he's basically like the key player on the team. I believe he was the only Magic that made the All-Star team, not this year, but the year before. So that lets you know that in the same position, you have a number one pick that's sitting on the bench right now. So I think that is hurting the team, a lot right now. You do have Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac out. But again, you got a piece that you just drafted recently a couple of years ago that could be playing a huge part of these not seeing the court at all. So I think we could make some improvements, but also you do see, I'm pretty sure you caught a few games, and you can see the difference to when we play the Wizards or the Brooklyn Nets to when we play the 76ers, the Indiana Pacers, and now the Boston Celtics. The first two teams, I guess you can say, are in playoff hunt, but they're not at the top of the level. They're not at the top of the charts when it comes to playoffs. They are the teams that are trying to struggle to get in, to whereas when we play Boston, who has a good spot, Philly was in a pretty decent spot, and Indiana was in a solid spot. We struggle to go against those, deep playoff-worthy teams. So I think there is more room that we can improve. I think we need to have more depth because injuries have been hurting us. Fournier, he goes missing from time to time. Same thing with Vooch. I realized with Vooch, when we're playing against a defensive team that collapses their defense in the middle, he kind of struggles. We struggle against Toronto, and that's because their bigs are so dominant. People don't give Marc Gasol as much credit as he had in the past of being defensive player of the year. Even though he's older, he's making a huge impact on that team, with Serge Ibaka, with Siakam. So I think we can improve. It's just that we need a little bit more guards, and we need to have that player that just sticks out. I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to make a huge move this all season, for a big name player. I will hope they do that because even though we have a solid team right now, the pieces that we have or we have had for a while, they're just not getting it done at the moment.
Yeah, looking at the box score, Fournier didn't even play today. So, you want these guys like Eric Gordon, Jonathan Isaac, Fournier to contribute, but either they hurt or they, like you mentioned, inconsistent. And then to the Mo Bamba thing, it's like, when they resigned Vucevic, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I thought like, get Mo Bamba's feet wet for a year, have him playing behind Vuce, and then you sticking the starting line for next year. But, you brought Vucevic back, and granted, yes, he's your best player, but, you're still picking the lottery with Vucevic in the fold, and you took this 7-1 center, and you're not doing nothing with them.
Nope. And that's the thing. And like I said, that's the only problem that I've had because you have a piece that the thing is both of their contracts are up at the same time. Vooch, now they extended him and Mo Bamba. So you have to see what you have in Mo Bamba. Obviously, Vooch is going to be a little older, but do you let Mo Bamba walk because Vooch has been playing this whole time? You don't know what you're going to get out of Mo Bamba because he's not going to come back and say, okay, well, yeah, you give me a little bit of money and I'll stay. No, Mo Bamba's going to want some money. He's I'm pretty sure he's pretty young right now, so he's going to be no older than 24 when that time comes around. So when that happens, you have to make your decision. So what do? Do you keep Vooch and say, okay, well, we're just going to offer Mo Bamba what we offer him. If he take it, great. If he don't, we let him walk. Or do you sit Vooch for a while? Do you trade him to get Mo Bamba in the fold to see what you have before it's time to extend it? So these decisions, this is the decisions that can hurt your franchise, right? I mean, Vooch is not a bad player at all. But if you already have him, why draft another center? Because right now in the playoffs, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is a stud right now for OKC, I believe he got drafted in the same draft. Yeah. I think a little later than Mo Bamba. So it's a couple guys that you could have, approached and drafted that could help this team. Markelle Fultz is getting back to who he can be. It's just we got to take time with that. And one thing I know about the Orlando Magic, we fire coaches every couple years. So you build something, and before you can actually see how that foundation blossoms, you let the person go. So if you do that, you're never going to have, okay, well, this is what we built, and this is what it kind of looks like. Before you actually get it to get there, you're already rebuilding.
Yep.
So that doesn't help. And, it's just, okay, well, hey, when I've seen that they drafted Mo Bamba, I'm thinking, okay, well, they're going to trade Vooch. But they didn't do that. They extended. And now you have a number one pick sitting on the bench. That will get paid. Somewhere he's going to get what he wants, whether it's with us, whether it's with anybody else. So, like I said, in Fournier, it's a couple guys you just got to see what can happen. But some of these decisions are affecting us, for the long haul. And they claim that the East was, very easy when LeBron was in. Well, I think LeBron made it look that way. The East is not that simple. It's not that easy. I mean, you got the Wizards and the Brooklyn Nets at the bottom, but all the other teams above that, they are not bad. And if, Giannis stays in the East, we could be seeing a lot of problems moving forward.
Yeah, the wrap up on the Magic is like, it's like, I mean, you're at 32-39 right now, And, you know, Vooch is a fabulous player, but he's not taking you to the promised land. Am I correct? I mean,
Yeah, he's not going to take it to the promised land at all. I mean, I hate to say that, but I think if you keep Vooch, realize what kind of player he is, but put a few more pieces around him. It's the same thing with Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon is a stud too, but you can't rely on DJ Augustine to be your star guard.
Oh hell no!
You can't rely on Evan Fournier to give you 30 a game. It's clear we can see that. Right now Jonathan Isaac was a solid player, but right now in the injury area, he's not like filling up to those expectations right now. If we're just being honest, so you have to kind of build that roster. Okay, well, yeah, we know that Vooch is a pretty solid defensive player. He can shoot threes. He can kind of shoot anywhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to put more guards around him and make this. Because if it was me, I would make that team a lot longer. That seems like the way it's going right now is to have a team very long. Only team that's not really doing that is Houston. And we're going to talk about them and see how that works. But if you have a Vooch, Isaac isn't bad, but maybe you throw him at the 4, you put Eric Gordon at the 3, and you get 2 longer guards. So the way they're going about it is just, it's kind of confusing to me a little bit. Or maybe there's a scenario where you have the Twin Towers with Mo Bamba and Vooch start at the same time. Maybe. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What are they doing?
Yeah, because if you stick Vooch on a very, very good team, he could be that very good third option. Like for the Lakers, for example, you need a scoring big down there, along with Anthony Davis. Vooch could be that 5, be that third scorer. I don't think he'll cry about his role right there. A very good team, I can see him at least the third best option. Now to carry the team to the championship, I don't think he's that dude. But this team's sitting below 500. They end up AC right now. It's just like in this offseason, something got to give.
Yeah.
Do you keep Isaac around? For another year and see what he can bring to you. Granted, he's gonna miss like a good majority of the year. Eric Gordon, what you gonna do with him? He really had, blossomed. Mo Bamba, you got to see what the investment is on that kid. You got to.
Yeah. Well, the time is ticking right now on Vooch I'm saying time is ticking. Like, I'm not saying time ticking as if he's bad, but it's time is ticking on him being in Orlando. And the fact is, right now, he's probably the hottest player on your team. So you probably need to use him as bait.
Yep.
To see if you can get some picks and some players in return. Because if you trade him, you still got your number 1 pick still sitting in the fold of Mo Bamba. And you have to see what you have in him. So that's why, to me, that's why I said multiple times, I told you before, that I would love to get into the front office aspect of these things to give it a try and see. I'm pretty sure a lot of fans would love to do it. But what makes that job very interesting is you have to be a little bit unbiased when you're making a lot of decisions. Like, you have to say, okay, I am a diehard fan, but I can't sit here and say that, I love Vooch and I think he's the number 1 guy, and it doesn't make sense to keep him and have Mo Bamba sitting there. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting right now. The first 2 games that, like I said in the beginning, the first 2 games against the Wizards in Brooklyn, we were dropping 60, 70 points in the first half. You was thinking this team was like, one of the top premier teams, and then we go against the Pacers, and we don't see Evan Fournier until the third quarter.
Very true.
So, yeah, it's like, and then Raptors come up, and they up by 20 in the first quarter. So this is things that are important, and once you see that, that's that kind of bring you down to earth kind of thing. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. How this team kind of moves on with the players that we have.
I agree. And, for a team that is kind of, stuck in neutral in Orlando, if you flip it to the west side, D-Lock, the Phoeinix Suns are rising. They're the lone undefeated team since the restart in the bubble. Devin Booker has been playing amazing. DeAndre Ayton is playing very well. Monty Williams has got these guys playing great out the gate. D-Lock, do you think Phoenix, with this hot streak, can they make a run at the AC potentially?
They can. Let me look at the West again, because I'm looking at how the Suns are playing, and for one, they're pretty deep, to be honest. I mean, look at Cameron Johnson right now. Like, he's playing very well. They're missing a key player right now, and I can't even think of his name right now. It's the small forward, Kelly Oubre. They're missing him right now. They're kind of down there, but with how the Grizzlies are playing, you don't know what's going on with them. Trailblazers, I already told you last week, I think they need to go ahead and get that coach up out of there. Like the Spurs, Pop is pretty solid, but I can see them passing them. And Devin Booker is an underrated player to me, to be honest. I think he is very underrated. So, you tag him with Ricky Rubio. Ayton is coming into his own. Aaron Baines hasn't came back yet. Miles Bridges is a player that plays a huge part as well. Sark is playing pretty solid. So they have the pieces. They have They have a hell of a lot of pieces. And if they can keep this trend going, I mean, come on now. They stuck with the Clippers. If that don't give you enough confidence to make the playoffs and make a run, I don't know what will. So this team is playing pretty well. And to be honest, I think when Ricky Rubio got drafted, this is something that we knew about him. He was pretty solid, and for him to land where he is now with Phoenix, this might be where he ends his career. I don't think that they will let him go. So he's making a huge impact. Now, he's not I don't think he's the number one scorer on the team. I personally think it's Devin Booker. But they have, a few pieces to make that run. So let's see who else do they have left? They got about 3 or 4 games left.
Yep. Let's see. If we pull up their schedule, let's pull up the schedule real quick. Come on now, ESPN is kind of funny on this.
Yeah, it just definitely. I mean, I know that I do see they have to play the 76ers coming up tomorrow. They have a tough game with the Thunder, and then they end it with the Mavericks. So,
yeah,
you have 3 playoff teams, but they're already in a. Come on now, you mess around to beat. Think about who they beat in a row, man. They beat the Mavericks, the Clippers, the Pacers, and the Heat. Like, if that's not a definition of turning up, I don't know what is. So right now, they're pretty solid, and you've already played a great defensive team in the Pacers, a high-scoring team in the Mavericks, another great defense team in the Clippers. So, yes, the Thunder is going to be a tough team, but they'll deal with them. The 76ers, I was just telling you about Joel Embiid just got hurt. Don't know when he'll return. And then the Mavericks at the end. So they can make a push. And to be honest, if this team can kind of get in the playoffs, we might see them kind of wreck things up, but the West is the West.
I definitely agree. Looking at the last 3 games, OKC, that game could go either way. But I feel like, the way they play and the confidence they got, I think that game go every way. And I think, Phoenix could take that win. Philly, we'll talk about them here in a little bit, but like you mentioned, Simmons and Embiid going down today, and some of the other role players for their Sixers kind of hit and missing. That could be another one right there for Phoenix. And then Dallas, depends if they hold out Doncic and You're looking at potentially 8-0. There's some very winnable games for that Phoeinix Suns team.
Yeah.
Very winnable games. And, it's just like, where does this come from? I was like,
right.
Monty Williams got the job this year for the season. And, sometimes they're pretty decent. Other times they didn't. Now, granted, DeAndre Ayton, missed those 20 games for the PED use, but when all these guys are healthy and stuff like that, or not suspended, you got a good looking squad right now.
Yeah.
You keep the floor spread for Ayton. I mean, he probably like this generation's version of Greg Monroe. Except he, shoot 3-point a little bit, but Warren as that stretch four. Saric, when he comes in, he can stretch out the floor as well. You know, and you get Oubre back healthy. You got a pretty decent team right there.
Yeah. I mean, they like I said, they're pretty deep, and the more you watch them, the more interested in your watch. The more interested you are in them, right? Like I'm looking at them, I'm like, dang, like okay, Cameron Johnson, this is a good pick. Okay, they're very deep, and if they can catch, we can't forget they got Frank Kaminsky over there as well, so they have a lot of pieces to where they can rest their guys when they want to and when they need to. So I wouldn't count them out, to be honest. I mean, this is a surprise team in the bubble right now.
And, the teams, they kind of, the team they're chasing, the Grizzlies, they lose again, to the Raptors. And I first want to shout out to the chat. Shout out to Marcus Logreat. How you doing tonight, sir? Terry Rodriguez, thanks for joining us. And last but not least, Larry B, thank you for joining in tonight, fellas. And D-Lock, let me ask you this. Marcus made an interesting point in the chat. The way TJ Warren has been playing here since he's been at Indiana, you think he would be like a great piece with this team? Maybe it's like a Kelly Oubre? Because, if you got Rubio just that facilitated floor general, Booker as your main scorer, Ayton as your number 2, and Warren's at number 3 to get you 18-20, you can make a run right there.
Yeah. I think TJ Warren is also a surprise, but he will make a huge piece for them as well. It's just that this team I think you got one of the better assist point guards in the league in Rubio, to me. Obviously one of the better scorers in Devin Booker. So I think that he would play a huge part. But I ain't gonna lie, Cameron Johnson is long. So he's kind of like that player that he can play from the 2 to the 4, or if they in that area. So he can play a huge part. We see what kind of impact he's making in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine what happens when they get Sabonis back. Like, that's going to be super nasty. So, yeah, he could play a huge part. I would think if the Suns were looking very bad and they see what TJ Warren is doing in Indiana, that trade will probably be in the back of their mind. But right now, there's so much of a role, they're probably not even thinking about TJ Warren.
And let me ask this real quick about the Grizzlies. They got Boston on the 11th. They got the Grizzlies 2 days after that. Do you see them winning any those 2 games?
Say the last 2 teams again.
They got the Celtics on the 11th, and on the 13th, They got the Bucks.
I definitely don't see them beating the Bucks unless the Bucks just take the day off. Boston. Well, I don't know if anybody can stop Jason Tatum. I don't see them beating the Bucks, either, the Celtics as well, unless the Celtics are solid where they are. But this Memphis team, just they had high expectations and they just don't look what we were expecting.
It's like we've seen in this bubble, like some of these players or teams, they kind of rose to the occasion, and then some of these teams that before the shutdown happened became casualties of the stoppage, like the Grizzlies. We'll talk about this in a little bit. The Lakers, who kind of found their groove as a team as a whole until things got shut down. I'm trying to think of where else. Houston was kind of trying to figure things out, and they had time off to kind of figure what to do, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For me, for the Grizzlies, it's like this is like desperation mode. Like right. Tarian brought up in the chat, they're in survival mode, and if they at least got to split one of these games to get into that playing game potentially, that's kind of looking like about to be like a three-way between them, the Blazers, and the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, we know which team is hot right now. We do know anything can happen. I mean, right now, the Kings are actually beating. Look like they're up by 9 or 10 against the Rockets. So anything can happen. We know that. It's just that in this survival mode, how will this team be? Can they keep it up? And when the pressure is on, can they keep that? I mean, the quote says pressure busts pipes, but it also makes diamonds. So this is their chance to kind of get things moving forward. And do they is the question. I mean, we can't forget that John Morant is still a rookie. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, right now it just seems like the energy has changed in Memphis at the moment to me. I don't see the same. And then, hell, you even see Grayson Allen. You've been getting a lot of minutes recently. So it's just like what are they doing?
And then also for Memphis, it don't help that Jaren Jackson went out with another injury.
Yeah.
That don't help things at all with this squad. So I don't know. It's gonna be tough to see. Memphis. Can they survive? And kind of beat that stick and keep Portland and Phoenix away. But if I had to make a bold prediction, I think seeing Phoenix get that 8th spot.
Yeah. I mean, Phoenix is on fire right now, the way they're playing. Dude, right now I'm so upset with Portland. Oh my goodness. I don't know what they're doing over there. You got all those pieces over there. You got, Whiteside as well, the fold. Nurkic look like he's playing out of his mind. There has to be answers. That's one of the teams that is disappointing.
Well, and speaking of Trailblazers, they lose yesterday's game against the Clippers by 5 points. But, in the course of that game, Damian Lillard missed 2 free throws. And, in the bubble, there's not a lot of, crowds. Not a lot of people in the stands and stuff like that. Maybe like executives and stuff like that and reporters. So you can hear a lot of the conversations on the court. Taylor Works pointed that out when she was on Bomani Jones' show. And I guess after those 2 free throws, Patrick Beverley, Paul George was just talking smack to him. And after the game, Damian Lillard, I'm going to, paraphrase here, he said, hey, I sent Patrick Beverley home. I sent Paul George home last year. And it's like, can this dude channel that anger that, Beverly and George, put onto him, or do you see him crumbling under that pressure? Which I don't see it, but you know, we talked about this, before the air. Like, this is like that energy, I like to see. Like,
Yeah.
what you gonna do with that energy? They got you mad and hot. What you gonna do about it?
Basically, I mean, what is your motive? How are you gonna take it? What are you gonna do with it?
And this is like, with Portland is like, they look good one game, and then little things here and there kind of like makes them lose a game. One shining spot for this team, Gary Trent Jr. That's a guy where we tweeted out from the Fast Break account on Twitter. If you're not following us on there, please do. I tweeted out from there, like, the way this guy's scoring and stuff like that, and the way he's been playing this season, he's a future six-man award winner.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude is solid, and kind of like in that perfect role for this team, like that first guard off the bench. And then we discussed this in the past. If McCollum wouldn't have been up to snuff this year, at least you got this guy right here to kind of pick up that slack a little bit. But can they challenge those comments into an AC potentially? Do you see that potentially, D-Lock?
The Trailblazers?
Yeah.
I do. Man, the team is just, they're so deep. Like they were saying about Melo, remember he hit the important 3-pointer a couple games ago. This team can be a problem if they can get in the playoffs. To be honest, I think this is the other team outside of the Clippers that can possibly realistically give the Lakers a little bit of problems because of the shooters that they have and the big men that they have. I mean, the Mavs are pretty solid, but I think that when it comes to the big men, Nurkic, Whiteside, I guess you can throw Zach Collins in there. I think they will give the Lakers a little bit more problem than Boban, Porzingis, and Kleber. So for me, I think the Trailblazers are a pretty solid squad. It's just the fact that now they have to find a way in and do what they have to make the playoffs. And remember what we talked about weeks and weeks ago. I said, you know what? I like the Trailblazers, but it's about the attitude that Dame has. I've been saying that for a while. And I understand he's talking about last year, what he's done to these two, to Bev and Paul George, but we're talking about a different year right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to bring that up, but that should motivate what you do now. And we have to see it. I mean, those 2 free throws were important, crucial. And it happens sometimes, but at this moment, come on now, we're talking about Dame. We're talking about the guy that we see jack threes from anywhere at any time and has those clutch moments, and all of a sudden he misses 2 free throws that cost the game. Like, that's kind of a surprising moment. So for me, it's just pretty interesting to see what happened. I have to see. I want to see Dame have that same energy that he do in the playoffs, 24/7 consistently. Because if so, I believe the Trailblazers are going to be a hard team to beat. And as we said, Gary Trent is coming into his own. Now, Trevor Ariza isn't there, but look how Melo is looking right now. I think Melo is looking very good right now as well. So it just depends on, how they finish the season out and the energy that they keep. Because you have C.J. McCollum. You have Dame, like you have Melo, you have the shooters, you have the big man. Like, what is the problem here? And like I said, for me, looking at things on the fan and the former athlete is okay. Well, if I see all these players that you have, a solid bench, they're playing pretty well. Anthony Simmons, I really haven't heard too much from him this bubble, but I believe that's because Gary Trent has been taking over and doing his job. Well, coach, what's going on? Like, that's how somebody has to take the blame for this. Somebody has to figure out, what's going on with this. And for me, being the fact that the Trailblazers have so many pieces, is like, why are they not taking advantage of many of these, scenarios that they're in? So Terry Scott's, Coach Terry Scott's, we need some answers.
Man, you gonna stay on Terry Scott's neck?
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Like, you got Dame, you got C.J. McCollum, you got Melo, you got Gary Trent, who's having an outstanding bubble right now. Like, Whiteside, who we thought was going to be a huge piece coming back into the bubble, has just like disappeared since Nurkic has, woke up. Like, what's going on? Like, there's no reason why both of these big guys should dominate. And one thing I noticed, big men eat against Portland. They have their best games against Portland. Something has to be wrong.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how things shake out for Portland. And, with the Grizzlies loss, we're guaranteed for an 8-9 play-in. So we'll see what happens with that scenario there between Phoenix, Grizzlies, and the Suns. But, it's interesting you brought up energy and team, D-Lock. The Lakers. Here's a team that came in number one in the West entering this bubble. First game in, they won against the Clippers. But since then, it's just like, I don't know if they've been phoning it in. It's just like they're trying to get back their groove back. But it's just like, where do you see this Laker team going? Because I really can't figure them out. It's like, things are looking good before the COVID situation happened. They're finding their groove and stuff like that. But now it's just like, we're talking about Phoenix. Got that, like Marcus mentioned in the chat, Phoenix got that second win. The Lakers, I don't know. Do you think the Lakers will kind of bounce back in the playoffs, or if they run into the wrong team, they're going to have some issues? What you think?
Well, I can't give up on the fact that LeBron is LeBron. So I understand that, LeBron will play a huge part on what happens with the Lakers. I do think they're missing a little bit of the defensive side with Avery Bradley. But one person that has to step up that we have not seen, but I think he does come alive during the playoffs, is Danny Green. Like, I think right now, he's that player that shows up, during the playoffs. But in season, it's like he's just going through the motion. I think one thing that we also noticed with the Lakers is the fact that they do have that number one seed locked up. So their motivation has completely, dropped. I remember LeBron, I think, tweeted, or he said, I think at a press conference, they said he couldn't do it in the West. And he has. So it seemed like his goal was to lead the Lakers to the number one seed, which they have. So it's like, what are you expecting from them when they play some of these games? You can tell with some of these some of these games the Lakers are playing, they get down by 10 or 7 or something like that. It's like Frank Vogel just scaling the minutes back.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, well, we're just going to, they're up by 8. Okay, well, we're just going to take this game and we're going to make sure we're in condition, that we have a little bit of chemistry, and then get ready for the next one. I think the game that they really were serious about was the Pacers at one point. But once the Pacers got up a certain amount of points, they just kind of were like, all right, well, hell, we got our minutes in. Let's just go home. OKC, same thing. OKC like just jumped in front of him, and it was like, okay, well, hey, AD, go ahead, get you up out of here, whatever. It's like they're making sure that some of these players that get hurt, a la you have AD and you have LeBron, they want to make sure that they don't go limping into the playoffs. And you can see that's kind of how they're approaching it. So I wouldn't worry too much right now, being the fact they do have LeBron on their team. That'd be different if they had somebody else that wasn't a huge leader as he is. But I do see Danny Green showing up during the playoffs. I would hope anyway.
For me, for the Lakers, and I mentioned this before, last game against the Pacers, the role players played pretty good. Dwight Howard had 10 to 12. Quinn Cook had 21 off the bench. They're playing the rookie Horton a little bit more. I don't know. It just seems like Vogel and crew trying to find the right rotation with these guys. Now, you mentioned Avery Bradley. Him being out the mix doesn't help things.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help at all. You lose that valuable piece on the perimeter defense. But, AD playing 35 minutes by only having 8 points and 8 rebounds. That can't happen. And with the Pacer team that don't have Sabonis in the fold, something wrong with that pitcher. And a Miles Turner that has played 25 points last night. Something wrong with that pitcher right there. And then, LeBron had a decent game, but, JaVale McGee, 5 points, 4 rebounds, 13 minutes. That's got to be better. Got to. And then, last night you didn't play, Morris, Smith for Raiders. So, Vogel got to figure these guys out. Like, who are going to run with come playoff time? And who's going to be sitting?
Yeah. I mean, that's very crucial. I think the fact that, Bradley was a huge part in that team. So now you have to look at the pieces that you picked up with JR and Deion Waiters. So they're going to get they're going to get some minutes. And Caruso didn't really play bad yesterday, but we're talking about, Caruso, not saying that you're expecting him to just get you, 10 with 5 assists and 4 steals every game. So these are the things that are important. But I tell you what, if the Lakers go all the way and they win a championship this year, there's going to be more talk about LeBron being one of the greatest ever. I don't care the fact that he has Anthony Davis. Everybody else in this team that he has, AD and Anthony Davis are clearly, the two players that are leading this team. And it's like it's a huge drop off when it comes to tier players. And I see that LeBron and AD are tier 1. I don't think there's anybody else in that roster that is tier 3 or tier 2. Or maybe not even tier 4. So I think that if they can get it done, best believe he will be, in the more definitely be in the talks one of the greatest. Will continue to be anyway.
Yeah, I was just hoping. I don't know. As a Laker fan, you hope it's not concerning, and these guys will figure it out. But some of these pieces, it's like, when they're on, they own. But if they're not on, when I talked about this last week, what else can they offer? And that's going to be the very key thing, for this team moving forward.
Yep. That is true. I mean, LeBron can't do it all. That's what they have to realize.
And speaking of, a team that, I guess depends on the star players do a lot. The Philadelphia 76ers, D-Lock. We mentioned, well, we'll talk about this off the air and then to mention on here. Joel Embiid has went out with an injury. Ben Simmons is out indefinitely after surgery on his knee. Where where do you see this Sixers team going? After
Want someone with a new coach soon, because I think those are two pieces that they need. Those two pieces first of all, but now Ben Simmons. I don't know how long they keep Joel Embiid. Let me see that. I just don't know. I think eventually at some point they possibly move him. I don't know how far this team really. They had so much potential. They're very young. Made a couple of trades, few pieces. You're looking at the fact that they at first started the season having an hour for them to start at 5. A lot of big things that they were doing, saying Ben Simmons improved the shooting just a little bit. And now, for one, with the team that they have, they're not beating the Bucks without Embiid or Ben Simmons or one of the others. Definitely not beating the Bucks. The Celtics, as much as I see that you can't really game plan on one player for them, I don't think that the 76ers can beat them as well. Right now, they're trending down. They're doing the exact opposite of what Phoenix is doing. And I mean injury-wise as well. That's playing a huge part for them. So it's just like, especially on the East too, like, you have the Brooklyn Nets and the Wizards who are fighting for the bottom spot. So a couple of teams are not talked about as much about how they look like the 76ers. But losing a few key pieces lets you know that, in the playoffs, these 7-game series is going to be pretty tough without your key players. So I believe Ben Simmons just had surgery.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see him back this season. Far as seeing there's a good chance he's going to miss this season. So Tobias is going to play a bigger part now. But to make a big run, I don't think so. I mean, not this moment. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do coaching-wise and see what they got to do with Embiid.
I don't know. They're in a weird spot. They're in a 6th seed right now, half a game back from 5 behind Indiana and Miami for this 4th spot. I mean, that 4 through 6 in the East can interchange, depending, who wins and who loses. But, those two guys gone. You mentioned Tobias Harris. He's been scoring decently, but it takes a lot. He takes a lot of shots to get there, and you're gonna depend on him a lot more than Al Horford, who you've been starting off the bench here lately. He don't like playing the 5, but he probably had to thrust him in that role where he's best suited at, and we'll see how he produces. And then also mention this the point guard depth. After Simmons went down, who you really have beyond there, I mean, yeah, you play Shake Milton there for a little bit, but you can't depend on that dude like that forever to run your squad. I ain't trying to diss the dude, but Philly's in trouble. I mean, they're in trouble. Because, I'm looking at their depth chart right now. I mean, they got Raw Neto in the fold, but they ain't been playing him much. I mean,
I can't even tell you the last time I remember seeing him on the court.
Me
to be
either.
honest.
I mean, they could possibly do Furkan Kormaz. He could play a little point guard, but he's more of a wing guy.
You better off having Alex Burke playing
Ooh.
than NATO at the moment. I mean, this is what I'm saying. It just...
I don't know. Philly, they
look rough right now. They look stuck. So it's Glenn Robinson. I think he just now is healthy and available to play.
It's like
he is weird, man.
It's like you see a couple of injuries happen, and then with some of these teams, then you see what they got behind them, and it's like, oh, we don't got much.
Exactly. I mean, you think that they have some depth, but without the key stars, they're going to take a step back, big time to me. The Pacers look like they probably can beat them at this moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and in the Heat also. So
kind of watch out for the Heat. I think they look better than a lot of teams expected. They look pretty good to me. Real Heat.
So depending on who Philly falls in that first round matchup, do you, with the players they got now, minus Embiid and Simmons, do you see them at least win one playoff game, or are they getting swept?
It depends on where they are. I don't see them getting a game against Milwaukee. I don't see them getting a game against Boston. I can possibly see them getting a game. Well, I don't see them getting a game against the Pacers. So, yeah, you might have to take the broom out on them, man. Especially with these players. With these players out, you're not gonna. You may see, a couple. This is the time we're gonna see how good Alex Burks and Tobias is, and Josh Richardson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one key player to kind of keep an eye on with this is Al Horford. He signed that big deal, and he's really been average so far this year. And it's being nice, giving him average.
Yeah,
but was he beat out, Simmons out? Can Al turn back the clock just for a little bit and kind of get his team a much needed lift? So we'll see how things play out for Philly. But D-Lock, did you see the NBA Awards finalists? I mean, the NBA Awards finalists.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. Defensive Player of the Year. Ooh, well, I got one of my guys up in there. The MVP, that was not necessarily shocking. That was what we expected. Did not see Sixth Man, though. Did you see Sixth Man?
Well, I'm going to run down everything, and then we'll discuss it here and hopefully hear from the chat as well who they think should win. Starting out with the NBA Most Valuable Player. The final three are Giannis, James Harden, and LeBron James. For the Most Improved Player is Bam Adebayo, Luka Doncic, and Brandon Ingram. On a side note, D-Lock, on that Most Improved Player, if you're number 2 pick overall, shouldn't we expect you to be great by your second or third year or so, or fourth year?
Yes.
You shouldn't even be considered for this award.
I agree.
This is my 2 cents, ladies and gentlemen.
With a little bit of salt and pepper with that, yes.
Anyways, I continue. The NBA Sixth Man Award finalists are Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, and Dennis Schroeder. The Rookie of the Year. The Rookie of the Year, I got some thoughts on this. Ja Morant, Kendrick Nunn, and Zion Williamson.
It's political, man.
Defensive Player of the Year, Giannis, Anthony Davis, and Rudy Gobert. And lastly, NBA Coach of the Year, Mike Budenholzer, Billy Donovan, and Nick Nurse. So D-Lock, I'll let you start off. What you think of the finalists and who you think will come out on top? Because I don't know, the Rookie of the Year, I got some thoughts on that, but I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely was gonna have to push Most Improved last because I'm still trying to pick out of those three. Coach, what name of the coaches again?
Mike Budenholzer, Billy Donovan, and Nick Nurse.
So I gotta go. I'm gonna agree with who you said a couple weeks ago. I gotta go Billy Donovan. When Paul George got traded to the Clippers with all those picks, the first thing that we all were thinking was that OKC was rebuilding. We were like, oh, well, OKC's rebuilding. Chris Paul, how he played in Houston, he's not going to do too much. He's going to be there. He's going to end his career there. They're not going to win that many games. And then, boom, they're done. This team looks very good right now, to be honest. He has a great piece in the SGA whenever Chris Paul is done. Schroeder is a very solid piece. Still kind of looking at Gallinari like right now as he can play better, but he's a pretty solid forward right now. This team is playing very good at the moment. They have one of the best defenses in the NBA. So I have to go Billy Donovan. Rookie of the Year. So if we're being honest, Zion is considered top 3 because this is very political. He was picked number 1. Dude is going to be on he's going to be on NBA. He's going to be on a new NBA game.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't seen him more than he's just now getting into the league. So I think this is very political. There's no way that he should win over Ja Morant. There's just no way. Kendrick Nunn. Now I think he is somebody that was overlooked big time because of how hell of a season that Ja Morant is having. Kendrick Nunn is being overlooked, being the fact that he does have another rookie that's playing solid in Tyler Hero. Duncan Robinson is there. Jimmy Butler looks great. And Bam there as well. So this is the reason why I think Kendrick Nunn is getting overshadowed just a little bit. But Ja Morant, I think, is the Rookie of the Year. 6 men. It would probably be a tie between both of the Clippers for me. To pick between Lou Williams and Trez is kind of a coin toss. Both been outstanding. Lou Williams has been Lou Williams. To be honest, either one of these teams can start on any team if you put them on the team. I would think that if you had to choose between which one to build around, that would be kind of tough. I probably would say Trez. And then, put pieces around him. But either Clipper at 6 men a year, I wouldn't have a problem with. If I had a preference, I probably would say Lou Williams, just because of the fact that he is the quarterback of that second unit. I'll leave Most Improved later. MVP has to go to Giannis. LeBron is my guy, but right now the Bucks are who they are because of Giannis and Budenholzer. But I think Giannis is just watching them play shows why Giannis is the MVP. Period. Like there's just watching this guy play. Like I believe they were playing against Miami. Was it a couple nights ago? And they were getting blew out.
Yeah.
Like his leadership is showing how much he means to this Bucks team. To be honest, this may sound like a stretch, but dude, I wouldn't be surprised if they won the NBA Finals. I really wouldn't, because of how resilient he has brought this team to be. I mean, the key piece in them not making the NBA Finals last year was Kawhi Leonard to me. The Raptors have always been a great regular season team, but Kawhi is a star-studded player who can make a big difference, who is a great leader as well. I don't see, I'm sorry, I believe that the Milwaukee Bucks do go to NBA Finals, and there's a good chance that they could win. Giannis is a huge piece of that, and they have their depth is crazy. They get Eric Bledsoe to get his minutes back after conditioning a couple games. This team is something to mess with, and Giannis is the reason for it. Now, most improved player. This is a tough one because B.I. looks like a totally different player, but we do know that comes along with having less pressure in L.A. That's just what it is. Let's just call a spade a spade. Now that he's in a different area, a different team, kind of a little bit more low key compared to the Lakers, not under that scope. I think that being with the Pelicans has done a lot more for him. Now, with me saying that, we also see Lonzo not look exactly the same. Like he kind of dropped down a little bit. So I do see that fact that B.I. has taken advantage of that. But I had this conversation with you before about this player. And he's one of the rising players in the league right now for me. Like when LeBron leaves, this legitimately can be his league. I'm talking about Luka.
Mm-hmm.
The way he's playing right now is just on another level. Like, I literally watched this man play against the Kings, and you can see they're throwing everything at him, and he's not changing. Like, his approach is not changing. Not only after they're throwing shots at him, he's not changing. He's scoring and talking, and let me say this in a right way. He's talking doodle to them. Like, this dude is scoring and he's talking trash to him after he's scoring. Like, yeah, I did this and won. Like, his confidence is up there. He's on a totally different level. This kid can be the MVP of the league in the future. Like, he's looking that great to me. The Mavs are who they are because of him, and also they got the unicorn over there in Porzingis. But, dude, like, watching him play it's amazing to watch this dude play. After LeBron is over, I don't mind, okay, where's Luka playing? Or before LeBron, okay, yeah, where's the Mavs playing? This combo of Porzingis and Luka is going to be great to see in the future. I don't know what the Knicks are doing by sending him over there. I don't care how anti this dude is. Like, he's going to stay with my team. But the fact that they sent him over to pair him up, that's a clear win for Mark Cuban and the Mavericks. That's a clear win. So Luka would be my improved player. And it's no disrespect to B.I. and Bam, who's having a hell of a season as well. It's just that right now, if I had to, I base, awards off of who I would build around. And, dude, if I had the number one pick and I had to pick between B.I., Luka, and Bam, there's no question I'm going Luka. There's no question. Like, there's no question for me.
All right. Well, let's see. I'll start off with the MVP award. I was kind of leaning LeBron, but I think in the end, I think it should go to Giannis. I think, with the Rockets and Harden, I think, he did miss a few games there, and then, I think the media has kind of clowned the small ball lineup for the Rockets, and I think that has gone against them to a degree, which it shouldn't be, but how fickle the media is. So, but I see it going to Giannis. The most improved player, I thought about. You brought a good point about Luka being that dude. But like I mentioned before, with him and B.I., it's just like, y'all were the second overall pick, y'all respective drafts. And we hope that you be that type of player come to the fold down the line. So I have to give it to Bam. And, going back to Luka's rookie year, we seen kind of some of his traces of greatness that we're seeing now. And hopefully we see for the future as a future MVP candidate. So, but for Bam Adebayo, he is taking a big leap, in my eyes, compared to the other two. Granted, yes, you can argue BI because his scoring efficiency and being an all-star this year counts, but I think Bam, showing that growth that he can be that, that guy down low for years to come. Sixth man of the year, it's gonna be a tough one. Schroeder is pretty consistent off the bench. Lou Williams, I hope the media don't hold that Magic City thing over his head, and because you know how petty the media is in all sports. Hell, we see it in baseball with the Hall of Fame voting and stuff like that, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame and all type of stuff, how biased they can be. I just hope they don't hold that Magic City thing over his head to him win that award. But I think it's going to go to Montrezl Harrell. Because I feel like Lou Williams can win that award any year. So I think it's going to Montrezl Harrell on that one. Defensive Player of the Year, it's going to be a tough one. I think they might give it to Anthony Davis on that one.
Yeah, that's the one I missed too. Yep.
They could go Giannis, but I think they could go, Anthony Davis. But I'm going to stick with Anthony Davis on that one. Coach of the Year, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and you mentioned about OKC. Bill and Donovan, with that, what he done with that team is a great job. You didn't trade Chris Paul. There's rumors about that. You kept it unfold, and then now you're like the fifth seed in the West. And, you got to credit that to coaching. Got to credit that to coaching. You didn't fold. Yeah. You didn't, dangle Chris Paul for future draft capital or whatever. You kind of stuck what you have, and now you're in the playoffs again.
Right.
So I got to give it to Billy Donovan. And the Rookie of the Year. Like the chat saying it has to be Ja Morant. It should be Ja Morant. Like you mentioned about Zion, it's political. Him being there. I mean, you be honest, Brandon Clark should have got consideration as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It kind of grind my gears that I saw Zion in there. It's like,
Zion, yeah.
It's like,
why?
Like you came back in January. Then on top of that, even when you did come back, you still missed some games. It's like they just like shoehorn him in for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kind of made me mad. I'm like, well, what about these other guys here? Kendrick Nunn, very deserving, undrafted guy, worked really hard to get where he's at. It's great to see him there. And he has, really helped his team with some games with his play. But it's got to be Ja Morant, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
and,
no doubt.
And I'm not saying the voting should be close. It shouldn't be close. But it should be damn near a landslide.
Big time.
Because you're talking about Ja Morant that wasn't ranked coming out of high school, going to a Murray State, going there for a couple years, and then leaving Murray State and being number 2 overall pick we don't see that much coming from those Group 5 conferences or lower tier conferences too much.
Nah, definitely don't.
So
and for him to play that way is just, I mean, I guess you could say it was expected, but he's played so well, and he's brought Memphis into the contention of the playoffs. So you can't be mad at that, and you have to, understand that he has a huge part with that, and they have a bright future. Like, honestly, that's what I really think about. It's just about, again, it goes back to what the front office do to build around his kid. That's just what it is. I mean, he can be the next Jordan, but if you don't put the pieces around him, like, it can end bad. It can be, so many expectations and they never get it done. So he's doing his part, and he's doing it well. Now everybody else has to play their part.
And then, if Jerry Jackson can stay healthy, you got your 1-2 punch in the future. We expect this in the beginning of the season. You expect this Memphis team to be, rebuilding one of worst teams. I don't say worst teams in the league, but a young team that will have some growing pains. But they did a great job. Those young guys came together. Sprinkling a couple of vets in there, you're solid. So that's where our predictions are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the chat and see who y'all got winning. Let's see. I'm trying to pull this up. Oh, come on now.
A couple of surprising names.
Yes, sir.
Definitely that 6 man or that and most improved. That's a tough one. It was kind of tough for me to pick, but I just know that for me, there's no way I get away from Luka.
Let's see. Tyrion in the chat saying for his MVP is Giannis, most improved Luka, defensive player of the year Anthony Davis, 6 man Lou Williams, rookie of the year John Morant, and coach of the year Nick Nurse. So,
good pieces.
Good pieces. Marcus mentioned, John Morant should be rookie of the year, no question. He mentioned Carmelo Anthony being the most improved player, or at least a comeback player of the year.
Consideration, yeah.
So a lot of good, choices in the chat. But, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Before we send off, tomorrow morning, do catch the Sports Brunch with Matthew Owens and Seth East early in the morning. That's at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 Central, 8 Pacific. So please get your day rolling right with those two guys in the morning. Then after that, the defining moment with Larry B.
Yep.
9 Pacific, 12 Eastern. If you ain't doing nothing, if you feeling down low in the morning, Larry will get your mind right on the defining moment. He would get your mind right. Then, in the evening, when you come back home, let's wind around sports with Mike Pat. Sadly, I'll be at work and I can't have a drink. But Mike will talk about all the goings on in the sports world and probably talk about his weird just being kicked out of the bubble already.
Yeah.
But please do join him at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific Monday. And then D-Lock, the Unfiltered Truth with Phil Jones and Phil Robinson. They're going to talk about those Raiders, man.
Yeah. Season 8 is coming up, so Definitely need to be discussed. Big time.
Quick question for you. You see the comments what Derek Carr has been saying, right?
I haven't seen him recently.
Well, I don't know. They probably touch on that, but I can't remember. He said something about, consistency or the playbook or something like that. You think he's watching over his shoulder with Mariota in the fold?
It probably is, to be honest. I mean, it's already been talked about. If Kyler Murray was there for John Gruden to grab, he would have grabbed him. So I'm pretty sure he felt some type of way about that. But it's just, dude, you have one of the best offensive line. You got Josh Jacobs, who had a great year last year. You have Henry Ruggs coming in with Nelson Aguilar. You got Tyrell, and you have the other receiver from Clemson. You can see what they're doing with that offense. So, and you have the great tight end as well, great, but you have a top tight end in the NFL. So you can see what they're going to do with that offense. But now it's all in his hands to see what he does with it. So, to be honest, I mean, they'll talk about it on the show. I don't think the Raiders are going to be too bad this upcoming year, but they do go as far as Derek Carr takes them.
Very true. So, and yeah. And I agree, it's just like, I'm pretty sure Phil and Jones and Phil Robertson will talk about that tomorrow as well. But thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Please do check out those shows tomorrow. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can definitely find me at Black-813, Instagram and Twitter. Check out my YouTube. I'm a diehard Bucks fan, so I will be posting a bunch of stuff on YouTube about my Bucks coming up with the upcoming season. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. Look up Dentarius Lock. Once you find me on Instagram, you will find how to spell that, my first name. First and last name, which you will find on YouTube. Let them know where they can find you at.
You can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. Please do follow our Twitter on Fast Break. Just type in at Fast Break. You'll see our names in our profile picture. So please, hey, D-Lock, Marcus laughing at your Bucks. But please.
As everybody else is.
But Marcus saying the NFC go through San Francisco.
Yeah. We'll see about that.
I got to talk about that. But do follow the Twitter page. Do follow me at Spawn4288. Do follow me on Instagram and Facebook, The Crooks Process. That's another podcast I do on my own. With college football hanging by a thread to start. I don't know if I'm going to do my top 25 yet. So depends what happens with these conferences and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Fast Break by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all sports. Have a good night. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Talk to y'all later, man. We out.